We need the means to refute the negative propaganda coming from the mainstream media, and we need to attract new, younger members into the movement. And the time's up, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to go. The dog, as you can see, has been deeply unimpressed by the entire proceedings. And I'm now going to hand over from the wee Doug to the big man. And Alex Salmond, give a big hand. Thank you. And I think he's staying, so.
I want it to be known that backstage, I looked at the wee ginger duck and I said, sit. And the dog sat. Now, is that leadership, ladies and gentlemen? Now, as I was having lunch with the editor of the Scotsman newspaper, in 1992, Magnus Linklater asked me, how can the Scotsman newspaper be of service to the nation? I said, hold a debate between the party leaders. And Magnus said, that's a splendid idea. And out of that idea came a debate in this Usher Hall back in January of 1992. And I have to say, it worked out quite well for the national movement. In fact, I think the early idea was to hold it in a telephone box somewhere, and then there was the idea of holding it in the assembly rooms, and only latterly did they realise that it was necessary to have that debate in a mighty hall such as this. Obviously, the leaders of the Scottish Independence Convention realised that the Usher Hall was necessary for mobilising a mass assembly like we have today. But anyway, way back then, the debate went pretty well from an SNP perspective. And as I went off stage, I always remember the first thing that the editor of the Scotsman said to me as I went off stage. He says, I realised the political impact that the debate had just had. He said to me, don't tell anybody it was your idea. Well, I would never, of course, tell any editors what to do. You know, the question that was before us as a movement is about direction and timing. But underlying that is a more important question about leadership. You know, people obsess about, when is going to be the right moment to have the next independence referendum. People obsess as what should be the right platform to hold that referendum on. And of course, in both of these things are totally interrelated. The platform that the movement, that's parties and non-parties, and the movement decide upon, dictates the timing of the referendum. You know, for example, if the movement by consensus were to decide, as I believe it should, but I'm just one voice in that matter, that the correct position to go into the next referendum on is EFTA membership for an independent Scotland. If that were to be decided, then that dictates the timing of the referendum. In that case, the referendum would have to be, should be, must be held at the point of a hard Brexit or at the point of a transitional agreement beyond a hard Brexit. That would be the obvious logical time to hold it. And that would have great advantages. You know, the politics, as we read from the Scottish Independence Convention's own opinion survey, and what we know generally, talking to friends and neighbours, is full of uncertainty. People are scurried with polls. People can't countenance the degree of change and instability across the political landscape. If you're going into a referendum on that timescale and advocating a certain model of membership as an independent country of the European Free Trade Association, which is something which people would accept can be swiftly and brought about after a referendum, then you'd be offering an island of certainty in a sea of confusion, and that would be of enormous value in winning the next independence referendum. So the timing of the referendum depends on the platform that's agreed and accepted. Looking back and learning lessons from things that perhaps I didn't do perfectly last time round. Okay, I've finished with that. Right, move on. Then I think it would be reasonable to say that perhaps the independence white paper was perhaps strayed too much into the form of a party manifesto as opposed to a national platform. That's an argument. But equally, no sane person would suggest in Scotland we should replicate the white sheet of paper which the pro-Brexiteers advocated during the UK referendum. So you have to get a balance between setting forward a platform which can offer people a vision of the future and examples of it, and having something which is so detailed it goes into what should properly belong in the manifestos of the political parties contesting the first independence election after the constitutional aspiration is achieved. I hope that we find a method and a mechanism through the SIC, through its cooperation, not just with the SNP, but with the other pro-independence political parties, to find a way to evolve that platform together. I would like to see the start of the next referendum campaign have the same degree of cooperation, the same degree of grassroots vibrancy as the end of the previous campaign had by 2014. But finally, in my contribution, just this question of timing and leadership. My Auntie Abby was a splendid woman, intelligent woman, occasional SNP voter, but never absolutely convinced about the merits of independence. And as we had debates when I was a lad and I used to be advocating Scottish independence, Auntie Abby had a phrase that she said to me. She used to say, "But we're no ready yet, son." And all of my life I've been looking at that phrase because I think it kind of encapsulates the reservations, the hesitations that many of our fellow citizens have about the constitutional route. And of course, there's always an understandable reason that people have to say we're not ready for independence, we're not ready for another referendum campaign, we're not ready to move into that again. But all experience and all politics tells you the only way you overcome these reservations is by leadership going into the campaign, choosing the right moment. And by leadership, I don't mean one individual or even one political party. I'm talking about the national leadership of a national campaign like this. You have to put the matter to the touch. In 2012, when I called the last independence referendum, the first independence referendum, let's call it that, the support for independence, according to the Social Attitudes Survey, was 23%. 23%. We finished, thanks to your efforts and those of countless thousands others, at 45%. We should have no hesitation in understanding the readiness of the people. The people will be ready. There is an army of interests waiting to be led. The question for us and for the leadership is the platform and the timing that arrives from it. And once we have that platform evolved, that level of cooperation embedded, then the timing becomes obvious, and that's when people will look to this organisation, to this movement, to do the campaigning that will take, well, let's put it this way, we'd well settle for another 22% increase in the yes vote between the start and finish of the campaign. Now, and one other thing, and that is this, that obviously our strength is great. Look round the hall, feel our strength as a movement, but also understand the weakness of our opponents. I've been active in politics for 30 years, elected politics. I've never seen the British state in a state of more disorientation and chaos. Understand the weakness of our opponents. They're Johnny no-mates in Europe, not a single friend across the continent. The structures of Westminster politics are decaying before our eyes. This is a matter not just of our strength, but their weakness. That also dictates the timing of the campaign. And that is another factor for us to consider. I would say the timing has never looked better for the national cause in Scotland. Evolve the platform and let's get on with it. Now, I've been asked by the organisers to do what is, for me, enormous pleasure. Round Europe, people have been looking at events in Catalonia. They've been appalled by the abuse of democracy, appalled by the state police hammering old age pensioners over the head, dragging women downstairs to ballot boxes, appalled by the lack of respect for democratic expression, by the jailing of opposition leaders, all appalled, perhaps out with the columns of the Scotsman newspaper, where Mr. Brian Wilson seems to think the Catalan people are involved in a tyrannical expression oppressing the rest of Spain. But just about every other human being on the planet knows what's going on. The difference between the people who know what's going on is the people who are prepared to say it and those who keep their mouths shut in this country and elsewhere because it's not convenient to tell the truth when they see oppression of a people trying to make a democratic, peaceful expression of their right of self-determination. So it is not and never has been our role to tell Catalans what to do. Catalonia isn't Scotland and Scotland isn't Catalonia. That's not our role, but our role should certainly be to show solidarity with those who've been oppressed and their democratic rights so brutally infringed over the last few weeks. And therefore it's my enormous pleasure to ask you to welcome a founding member of the National Coordination for the Popular Referendum of Catalonia, someone who has become renowned internationally for her leadership in grassroots activism, heavily involved in the current drive for Catalonia's independence. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage and show your appreciation for and solidarity for Anna Arqué.
Lliure. I'm a Catalan, like many other millions of Catalans, loyal to the proclaimed Catalan Republic. Our president is the president of the legitimate Catalan government of the Catalan Republic, el molt honorable Carles Puigdemont. My vice president is Oriol Junqueras, and the legitimate Catalan ministers are Jordi Turull, Josep Rull, Raül Romeva, Dolors Bassa, Meritxell Serret, Clara Ponsatí, Joaquim Forn, Meritxell Borràs, Toni Comín, Lluís Puig and Carles Mundó. All of them, the legitimate government of the Catalan Republic, being jailed and forced to live abroad because of the Spanish political, judicial and police violence. This is a European disgrace. This is a disgrace for the basic democratic standards, and therefore we demand to free Catalan European citizens, political prisoners, and we communicate that Catalan people will defend its institutions and the democratic, legal, and legitimate Catalan Republic. Good afternoon, good evening. It's the first time that I have my speech written down, because these days, passion in our minds and hearts, I may be carried on, so I prefer to have it written down. I'm sure you understand. First of all, I would like to thank Scottish Independence Convention. Thank you very much. It is my pleasure to be here in your Congress, always surrounded with so many Scottish friends, and to congratulate you for the great work, remarking how important is our knowledge, enthusiasm, and networking amongst different collectives to achieve a common goal, for everyone, prosperous Scottish independence. Thank you, of course, very much to SIC in Scotland and its spokesperson, Shona McAlpine. Thank you very much to the Catalan Defence Committee in Scotland. Popular recognition is, on the long term, the most solid solidarity amongst people. Thank you as well to all the Scottish MPs that are calling the attention of those in charge of the European institutions, showing your support for Catalan self-determination and a just proclaimed republic. Thank you as well to the Scottish media or the journalists speaking out in defense of democracy and the democratic fight for independence. Right Honourable Theresa Margwick, Sandra White, Joanna Cherry, Victoria Healy, Eileen McKay, George Caravan, and so on. Thank you for accepting. Thank you all for accepting my SIC invitation to participate the 1st of October official binding Catalan referendum, and to be accredited as international visitors and or observers. The police violence came to us, they hit us, and you stood by us, you stood with us. You are one of us. Thank you. It amazes us to hear accounts of the valor that liberty arouses in the hearts of those who defend it. But who could believe reports of what goes on every day among the inhabitants of some countries? Who could really believe that one man alone may mistreat 100,000 and deprive them of their liberty? Who would credit such a report if he merely heard it without being present to witness the event? And if this condition occurred only in distant lands and were reported to us, which among us would not assume the tale to be imagined or invented and not really true? Obviously, there is no need of fighting to overcome this single tyrant, for he is automatically defeated if the country refuses consent to its own enslavement. It is not necessary to deprive him of anything, but simply to give him nothing. By ceasing to submit, they would put an end to their servitude. If not, one thing is yield to tyrants. If without any violence they are simply not obeyed, they become naked and undone and as nothing, just as when the root receives no nourishment, the branch withers and dies. Resolve to serve no more, and you are at once freed. This text, it could be written by a Catalan in 2017, but it was written in 1550s, in 16th century by Etienne de la Boite, an Occitan. I have not said French, I said Occitan. This text illustrates the old and very current and very much current ongoing battle between those in power using their privileged position for their own benefit, blocking the natural progress of so many others, and do so imposing their definition of success, richness, and prosperity, which they reduce to one thing: money. In 21st century, we still have our own tyrants. Corporate, destroying forests, for example in Brazil, executives underpinning gender inequality, and states using political, economical, judicial, and policemen to repress popular democratic expression. It's easy to lose track of all the anti-democratic actions that the Spanish state has performed surrounding the official Catalan referendum of self-determination, registering printing companies to block what is written, register the media, newspaper offices to block the free expression, to steal ballot slip papers, the closing of webs, of proxy servers. Looks like we're really talking about faraway lands, right? Charging against unarmed families ready to vote, grandmothers included. Hitting us, spraying us, shooting rubber bullets when defending the polling stations because we were defending democracy. It is simply outrageous. But we will not feed the tyrant. We will not feed the monster. We will not become one of them, transforming our love in hate, hatred. Because what is courageous is to stay put and not run away while the uniforms come to hit you. What is courageous is to have the dignity in distressful moments to temper yourself without getting lost in the anger and the hate that you are receiving by others. We will defend the proclamation. Oh no, don't know if I'm saying it right now, exile, right? Because now I said exile, yeah. Jordi Pujol in the 60s, 2 years prison. Artur Mas barred from public office and fined. And Molt Honorable Carles Puigdemont forced to live abroad. Only 2 presidents have not been forced to exile, have not put in jail, or have not been assassinated. And those are the ones that represent a state party in Catalonia, which is the Labour Party. All the rest, all the presidents since the restitution in the 20th century, in 1914, they all have been suffering from the Spanish state, being a republic, being a monarchy, being left, or being right. The judicial independence of Spain, just to put it in place, the World Economic Forum placed Spain in the 97th position out of 144 after Botswana. The very much famous Constitutional Spanish Court, the members are appointed out by political parties in power, which are the Conservative PP or the Labour PSOE. So not much independence on that. Of the 753 breaches of the European Human Rights Convention committed by Spain, 352, almost 50%, have been against the right to a fair trial. And they're still saying and wondering why Puigdemont is in Brussels. Well, maybe he's right that probably there's not a fair trial in Spain for Catalans fighting for a democratic independence. Fascism is when justice is administered by a general attorney reproached by the parliament and a judge decorated by the police minister. Only with these notes exposed now, you may imagine that proclaiming the Catalan Republic in itself, it has been a huge achievement. It's not consolidated yet, but only proclaim the Catalan Republic. It's a huge Catalan achievement. And it's an achievement done by the people, because it has been very much explained that the Catalan process is from below down to up. I don't really like these up and down things. I think we're all citizens, and it just happens that some of us have the job to be a politician. So I always say more that it's between us that we manage. But to put this up and down thing, that is from the bottom to the top. And it's absolutely correct. But it has not been a fairy tale inside Catalonia either. In 2009, some people, maybe we just said we should stop crying out to Madrid because nothing changes. And we managed to do like 180 change of perspective and start looking at our own politicians, the nationalist, the independentist politicians, and tell them, look, stop singing "We Are a Nation" and let's start to exercise as such. Let's exercise like a nation. That didn't go down that well. And when we presented a popular legislative initiative into our parliament, well, it was not that positive, and basically our own politicians said that it was not possible to vote on independence, which, of course, the people didn't agree. So we started to ask ourselves about independence, And we organized in 555 municipalities a vote, and popular vote, so everybody could express themselves and to show to our politicians that of course we were prepared, and of course to ask about independence is legal and it's possible. And 82% of all these people, there were 60,000 volunteers, almost 1 million voting from 2009 and 2011. 82% of the volunteers didn't come from any political party, neither from a cultural association, but from our houses, as myself, from our private life. And we created a positive scenario where we could discuss about self-determination, and suddenly something great happened. People from all walks of life, from different ideologies, ages, professions, suddenly in these assemblies, they realized that they had relatives in the meeting. They had some neighbors. So we managed to transform what it was almost like a secretive, intimate, personal dream, utopia. It became a collective determination because we met ourselves, and of course we were majority, and of course we want independence and we want freedom. So from these municipalities, that was the seat for the Catalan Assembly, National Assembly, to build upon. With the popular referendums, we managed to verbalize our wish, our ambition for independence. And then what we needed was a picture of all of us together. And that is what has happened in recent years with these huge demonstrations, peaceful and civic positive demonstrations. So with the popular referendums, the official polls changed dramatically, and they show a majority for independence. And then our politicians raised the eyebrows. And of course, they, which many of them wanted independence, got the courage because they saw the people were there and we were organized and we were ready. So from this point, we managed to transform this social majority into a political majority. And this is the political majority that has made us able to approve the law for self-determination and the law, and we proclaim the Catalan Republic. This political majority that comes from a social majority. And so basically, Catalan process, it has been a mirrors game. We put first a mirror to our nationalist parties. We are putting, self-determination is putting a mirror to the Spanish state for everybody to see that this rock that we are carrying over our shoulders for so many decades and centuries, now everybody is ready to see what is repression and what is really the Spanish state about. And we are also putting a mirror in front of the European Union. This was not our main objective. Some of us, we thought that it could come intertwined, but we had enough with independence. But now it looks that we also has opened like a certain battle in the European Union. And it's fair enough because Catalans, we are European citizens, and what happens to us is the same that can happen, or are the same griefs for a Finnish or a Danish, because what happens is an attack to democracy and to the values, the democratic values. So there's a Martin Luther King saying that says, anywhere, and injustice and justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And that's quite right. So, and to conclude, what's now? What's going on now? Okay, so elections are coming, and we will confront, participate, we still picking up the verb to talk about these imposed and illegitimate elections. But there's going to be an opportunity to once again win and to consolidate the Catalan Republic. We will be there. We don't know still in which manner, but we will be there because when we were saying that we are not afraid of democracy, we really mean it. And when we say we are not afraid of ballot boxes, we really mean it because we trust in ourselves and we hope that everybody still believing in us and believing in the Catalan Republic because it will come and it will consolidate. Socrates used to say, rest or fight for freedom, because both things at the same time can happen. Okay, we're not resting, we are fighting for independence because it's legal and it's legitimate and it's democratic. And we are not, and I say it again because this is an important idea, that we are not going to assume anymore the Spanish democratic shortcomings. We will defend the Catalan Republic and we will consolidate it. And to finish, as Mandela used to say, may your actions reflect your hopes and not your fears. That's exactly what Catalans we are going to do. So yes for Scotland y visca la República Catalana, visca Catalunya lliure. Thank you very much. Ciao, Alba.
What an ambassador for her republic, come on! Hello, I'm Pat Hayman, co-convener of the SIC, along with Elaine C. Smith, Richard Walker and Leslie Rillick. How are you all doing? I'm about to introduce someone and also something that just shows you how vital and responsive the independent movement is. A few weeks ago, I think about a fortnight ago, the Scottish Catalan Defence Committee was set up. I think Jonathan Shafi, who was on speaking earlier today, had a big part to play in that, and they have made a declaration of solidarity. And the most resounding person that we could find to read that declaration is a great Scottish actor icon. Could you please give a cheer for David Hayman?
Hello. Now, I wish you could all stand up on this stage and look back at yourselves. You all look absolutely fucking brilliant. To see so many people, nearly 2,000 of you crammed into this hall, it just lifts your heart, it's inspirational, and it just does your heart good. It's fantastic. And we're here for one reason, because we all share a dream. We want to live in a better nation, and we will. But we better hurry up, because not many of you look younger than 65. Where are all the young folk? Oh, that's it. Hello. Don't worry, we'll all soon be gone. Folks, I have to read a statement from the open letter from the Catalan Defence Committee of Scotland. It's a bit like an issue from the Politburo. We, the undersigned, demand free the political prisoners, the release of the political prisoners of the Òmnium group of the Catalan National Assembly. 2, self-determination. We defend the right to decide and support the internationally recognized right for self-determination. As the UN independent expert on the promotion of a democratic and equitable international order, Alfred de Sayas has said, I deplore the decision of the Spanish government to suspend Catalan autonomy. This action constitutes retrogression and human rights protection incompatible with articles of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Pursuant to articles of the Spanish Constitution, international treaties constitute the law of the land, and therefore Spanish law must be interpreted in conformity with international treaties. Three, an end to political trials and repression in Spain. Over recent weeks, judges in Spain have used startlingly loose interpretations of the Supreme Court's ruling on the referendum's illegality to issue orders that violate many of the rights they are charged with upholding. 4, free and fair elections. Support free and fair elections on December the 21st, 2017. 5, defend a free media. Not only were press and photographers attacked by riot police whilst covering the referendum organised by the regional government in Catalonia in northern East Spain on the 1st of October, but subsequent attacks on independent media are an alarming indictment of any functioning democratic state. The conflict is less and less about competing conceptions of democracy and increasingly about the defence of the basic rights like freedom of assembly, speech, and the press. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask political parties and trade unions, student unions, churches and local groups to support these demands. And I would say to Anna, with all of my heart and from all of us, you are one of us. And we say to you and your fellow Catalans, we admire your courage, we feel your passion, and we support your drive for self-determination. Thank you.
Thank you, thanks very much. If I could have a little bit more guitar in the monitor, that would be lovely, thank you. Okay, so it's great to be here and be part of this special day. I hope you've had a wonderful day. It's been a lot of wise words said, and I'm going to finish with some wise words from a guy called Woody Guthrie. So this is not a Scottish song, but it's a song about coming together and trying to change things. And if you know the chorus, it'd be great to hear you singing along, especially as we don't know the song that well. So your help would be greatly appreciated. It goes a bit like this. This land is your land, this land is my land, California, New York Island, the redwood forest, Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I was walking the ribbon of highway, saw above me and the skyway saw below me, golden valley. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. California, New York Island, the redwood forest, Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me. I've roamed and rambled, followed my footsteps, Parkland dams out, Diamond Desert, and all around me, voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. California, New York Island, the redwood forest, the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. Don't show everyone. The sun was shining, the wheat fields waving, dust clouds blowing, no bed railing. Voice came chanting, the fog was lifting. Yeah, this land was made for you and me. Come on, say it. This land is your land, this land is my land. California, New York Island, the redwood forest, the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me. This is my favorite verse. As I was walking, I saw a sign there, and that sign said, no trespassing. But on the other side, didn't say nothing. That side was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. Caledonia, New York Island, the Gulf Stream waters, redwood forest. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me. Thank you very much.
Now for Mr. Dean Owens.